In 1994, the biggest animation movie of all time was released, The Lion King. It was a movie that completely turned the world of pop culture upside down. It led to sequels, TV shows, a live-action remake. The movie's still just as popular today as it was in the year of 1994. But that same year, another animation juggernaut was released that led to 8 direct-to-video sequels. The Swan Princess. What, is this a bigger movie than The Lion King? How could there be 8 sequels? This is an entire franchise that's been happening under our noses. Well, let's take a look back at the first and top movie on this DVD set.
The Swan Princess, directed by Richard Rich in 1994, based on the famous Tchaikovsky ballet, Swan Lake. It's another animated princess movie with a very clear demographic. Just like many of the Disney movies at the time, it features talking animals, a faraway castle, and a love story that's, unsurprisingly, underdeveloped. King William and Queen Uberta are rulers of separate kingdoms who have 2 children, Odette and Derek, and they hope they will fall in love in order to unite the thrones. However, by the time they grow up, Derek is only interested in Odette's beauty because he's a bit shallow. After their proposed marriage falls apart, the evil magician Rothbart returns to put a curse on Odette in hopes that she'll marry him and he can take the throne for himself. The curse requires her to become a swan during the day, and only at night can she return to her human form. Simple enough plot, I guess, but with contrivances all the way, but that's nothing new for this type of film. As far as the animation goes, it's not anything too impressive, but it's obvious that they didn't have much of a budget. The backgrounds and character animation work well enough, and they seem to be having fun with the goofy style. For comparison, Anastasia, while obviously working on a bigger budget, never really worked for me on the character design level because there never seemed to be a good strategy for facial expressions. In Swan Princess, they are wacky when needed, but for the main leads, they're kept steady and straight. If they would have had more money, they could have done more. The voices are actually pretty good. I was expecting this to be the worst kind of Disney ripoff, but one that just managed to get a theatrical release. But the songs can be entertaining at times. This Is My Idea takes the traditional opening song approach as a means for telling the story, and I think it's pretty effective. I can at least remember this melody after the movie ends, and it's completely ridiculous, but I do enjoy the No More Mr. Nice Guy song. It feels very Broadway-like. I really appreciate that this movie, which is even titled after the main princess, actually focuses on the male counterpart. In most Disney movies, it's obvious that the prince typically gets ignored, but here, he has personality, he's a bit flamboyant and uppity at times. He's not just some pretty serious man. They're having fun letting his character get developed, even if the scenes can go a little long at times and feel oddly stacked. Like, right after Odette gets kidnapped, they have this overextended sequence of bow practicing. I guess it's meant to introduce the audience to Derek's strengths, but it just doesn't feel placed well. In turn, Odette herself can be a bit underwritten, but once again, no matter how simple the story is, I like that they actually have her deny Derek's love when he reveals his shallow perception. I like that he needs to actually work for the relationship. But the only issue is, they never really develop it much after that. There's a moment they reunite, but other than that, we mostly just wait for the plot to play out. But I guess Derek redeems himself, even if there's never really a moment of learning. There's probably one too many side characters like Derek's friend, the parents, the group of animals. I actually like the voice work on Puffin, John Bob, and Speed, but I don't know if it was quite necessary to have all 3 of them. I don't think they all have shining, singular personalities. But the turtle being named Speed, that was a good pun. I laughed at that way too much. Then you have the villain who kind of just looks like a normal dude. They could have really used a darker design here, like Rasputin, or something that's more unassuming, like a Gaston. Here he just looks like an older bearded guy, who never really comes across as too threatening, until he turns into the great animal, and even then, I'm mostly just questioning when and why he uses his magic. I'm sure it's explained in some kind of fashion, but mostly it just seems underutilized in order to save the villain for the ending. Even the curse is a little confusing. I get that she turns into a swan and can only come out when the moon is shining, but why exactly would Odette die if Derek professes his love to the false Odette being imitated by the hag? I guess Rothbart maybe tells us, but he whispers every line, so who knows. I guess just as a kid's movie, it works fine enough, and at least it has some genuine personality, even if it still feels derivative of things you've seen in the past. I wasn't really expecting much, but for what I got, I was pleasantly surprised, even if I was laughing a lot of the time, but I don't think it was all an irony. I think the animation can be a lot of fun, working well with its budget, and I do enjoy the prince and the antics of the animals, even if they can be underdeveloped. It's not Disney, but unlike Anastasia, it's not trying to be. And it has talent behind it. Richard Rich directed Mickey's Christmas Carol, Fox and the Hound, and The Black Cauldron. Lower tier Disney movies, sure, but fantastic animation. It was actually a box office failure, but picked up steam on VHS, so I guess that's why they made the direct-to-video sequels. They made one in 1997 and 1998, then waited until 2012 to make a fourth movie, and it's been going on almost yearly since. So, should I watch the other sequels to get the full scope of the story and characters? Well, I guess the other two are literally on this DVD, so never say never. But for now, The Swan Princess gets a pass from me. Thanks to Elizabeth for this Patreon request, and thanks to all my Patreon supporters. For only $7, you can get your own monthly movie review. Ask me to review anything I haven't already. There's also other perks like blogs, exclusive videos, and early access. You can also follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And thanks so much for watching this video.